Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you're in. Really happy to be here with you today with Dr. Tiffany Diab. Hi, Dr.
Hey.
Tiffany.
Hi.
You're in my backyard. I think we're like 45, 50 minutes away from each other.
I think it's about 3 hours.
Get out. Are you in Colorado Springs?
Yeah, I'm in Colorado Springs.
Oh, it's not 3 hours from.
Is it not?
No, I think it's about an hour, I think.
Oh, it takes an hour to get to Denver, so I thought you were a little beyond that.
Oh gosh, yeah, no, that's some bad traffic. I'm only talking about if we had no traffic, but this is really great to always meet somebody that's practicing great veterinary medicine in my state. Period. It always seems pretty easy. So next time I'm in Colorado Springs, I'm gonna have to make a coffee appointment with you. Now let's get to some fun stuff here, because I know you're practicing your journey into functional, alternative, natural medicine. I know we can use a lot of terms like holistic and all of that, but it was first and foremost, let's talk about what inspired you to get into that as opposed to very conventional medicine. And was it your dog?
It was partly my dog. Yeah, so I rescued it was my first dog all on my own in veterinary school. She was my spay victim for senior year surgery. So I spayed her and then took her home. So she was 8 months old when I brought her home. So she had a lot of baggage. And she had a lot of health issues, mainly revolving around allergy symptoms and GI inflammation, vomiting, inconsistent stools, stuff like that. So I kind of ran the gambit of traditional medicine with her, and I was in vet school. So I was able to take her to the dermatologist, the board certified, and talk to internists about what to do with her and get the prescription food really cheap and all that kind of stuff. Do topicals, I did omega-3s, I did, shampoos and mousses and, all the things. And it all helped, a little bit, but never really seemed to resolve anything for me. And so that just kind of got me thinking. And then a few catalysts happened along the way. I joined a traditional practice right out of vet school, and it was a 5-doctor, very busy practice. It was in rural Arkansas. So we not only saw patients throughout the day, but we rotated on-call emergency after hours. And so I was exposed to a lot of different cases and conditions. And the doctors there were all very old school. So they would carry around vials of ampicillin, which is an antibiotic, and Dex-SP, a steroid, in their pockets of their jackets, because that's how often they gave those injections to patients. And so
Pure-all.
That was
just a Pure-all.
Yeah, just, we don't know what's wrong. Here, I have this shot. Let's do that.
It sounds about right.
Yeah, it was a rude awakening. You go through vet school and you learn all this stuff and you think it's all about the intricacies and about the details and about the pathways and all this stuff. And then you get to real life and everyone's like, nah, you just kind of treat everybody the same. And so that was a rude awakening for me, because I'm a big puzzle solver. I love solving puzzles. I love getting into the nitty gritty. And so I couldn't do that. And I would try to convince clients to try different food instead, or try probiotics, or, I didn't know a whole lot of what to offer, but I knew probiotics must be good. But a lot of the clients were like, nah, I just want that shot that Dr. So-and-so, can I just get the shot? And so I can go home. I'm kind of in a rush, It was just crazy. So that culture was really challenging. And that got me doing a lot more research, into other alternatives. And then probably the other catalyst was after I left that practice, I joined a 24-hour emergency specialty practice. And again, lots of exposure to lots of different things. But just kind of seeing the gambit of what happens when pets aren't given the right resources, the right food, aren't given the right detailed care. They end up seeing us, and so that was very emotionally exhausting. I kind of got burned out, and I really needed something else to do, or I was probably going to quit veterinary medicine pretty soon. And so I found acupuncture at that point, and it was the perfect fit for me at that time because it was 98% online, and I was doing 12-hour overnight shifts. So it was perfect. And so I did that, spent the weekend in Fort Collins for the on-hand stuff, got my certification. And that was just, the entry drug per se. I just started doing acupuncture and seeing the results from that. And then just kind of snowballed after that. We had a few other holistic vets in town and they all retired or quit. So I ended up being the only holistic vet in Colorado Springs. And so all those clients started coming to me and asking, hey, we also need Chinese herbs. Hey, we also need chiropractic. Like, come on, get your game up. And so just started adding all that stuff and really got sucked in 100%.
Hey there, this is Rob Ryan. I just want to say how much we enjoy making this content for you here. And if you are enjoying it, would you like our video down below? And would you subscribe to our YouTube channel? It sure does help us get discovered by more people like you who need information like this. And also down below in our description, the top link is to our trial pack. We hope you'll order one for your dog so your dog can have fermented superfoods that give them nutrition like they can't find anywhere else. Hard to get nutrients that are easily absorbed. Thank you very much. Now back to the show.
I've talked to a few amazing vets that you use the word puzzle solver.
Mm-hmm.
And they've all said to me, vets get into this practice because they love animals and they like to solve problems or puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main factors, and it is just one, and it's a very complicated issue, but the increase of both vets leaving the profession, which is, by the way, has a huge exit rate, huge, like scary exit rate, one of the top of all the big professions, and also suicide rate, is that people get into, and this is a note for all young veterinarians, please hear this clearly, and Dr. Tiffany, you can just validate this or not. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is you get in for those reasons, and then you go through a system that is designed to be very, very corporate. You've got a huge amount of debt, and so they define how you do business in a corporate environment, and that limits. It's a check. It's a health by medicine by checked boxes by just basically, coloring by numbers at that point. You're not thinking through any problems. You're carrying vials of antibiotics and hormones and your steroids in your pocket. And that's just not where people want to be. And they realize, well, I'm not even that necessary. My brain is not being used, and my care and attention and love and passion is not being used. So does that sound about right to you?
That might be true for other vet schools. I have to say, I am really proud of the vet school I went to. It was Mississippi State. I had some great instructors there, and they very much wanted us to know all the nitty-gritty details and understand the pathways and understand the pharmaceuticals to a level where we could design our own anesthetic protocols and know, what to switch for certain patients, or what drug combos to do. So no, there was no holistic aspect to it. But I wouldn't say that they were very corporately geared. And maybe that's different for other vet schools. I don't know. But for my vet school, I actually had a really positive experience. And I think it was just after leaving that experience in that ivory tower where you always, have another diagnostic to look at. Like you try to get the information as much as you can so you make a good decision for your patient, to then be thrust into the practice I was put into, or I chose to go to there. That was the big rude awakening for me, is that it's so exhausting to be a veterinarian that it becomes easier to just do cookbook. You only have the bandwidth for so much problem solving, and then you throw it into that mix clients who aren't compliant or complain about the cost of doing different diagnostics that might really help you make better decisions, or the cost of the medicine, and you kind of get beat down, honestly. So I think it's more of an experiential thing. Now, I will say, I didn't start out at corporate. I have classmates who their first job out of school was corporate. And of course, especially a couple of the longer standing ones, very cookbook. And they would tell me that it's very cookbook. You had to follow the protocol in the book. And that beat them down too, because, they all went to the same school I did and had the same experience where, we should be able to use our brains and use some critical thinking. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd blame the schools quite for that one, at least not my school.
Well, I guess what I mean is, your vet school didn't teach you holistic where you eventually ended up. So there's that. But what I'm really talking about is the big corporate companies that own everywhere between the pet foods, the kibble companies. They own the parts or all of insurance companies, corporate care, the big food companies. They own the whole chain, from food to death. And they're the ones that, they, in some schools, they buy your stethoscopes, they buy, they sponsor lots of talks and everything. So there's a huge influence in the vet school. So that didn't happen at your school, I guess.
The only influence I knew of was that they were the ones that were exclusively our nutrition trainers. So we got 6 hours of nutrition training total, not 6 credit hours, so just 6 total hours. And they were all lunch and learns sponsored by those companies. So, probably the biggest critique I would have of my vet school, and probably most vet schools, is the lack of nutritional training.
Were they at least good lunches?
Yeah, there's sandwiches and chips.
At least you got that. Yeah. But I'm not even tearing down anything, any vet program. That's not my intention. My intention is somebody's young and anticipating that they might want to be, if they want to be a vet or getting ready to go to school, there is a very easy system you can go through that promises you a future. And all I can say is, I know a lot of amazing holistic, natural, functional, whatever you want to call them, veterinarians that have amazing practices, amazing lives, amazing clients. And they're very, very intentional about how they build their practice and how they talk to customers, how they find the right clients. And they have amazing, and they're booked 2-3 weeks in advance. They charge top dollar for their services because they're worth it. They're problem solvers. They're thinking through problems. And I just find it very interesting that there's a group of people in a system that are miserable, and another group that's fulfilling their dreams, and they're living with passion, in their profession, which is what you're doing, so tell us a little bit about how you think about and interact with your clients, how you attract the right clients. How did that come to be?
Yeah. It's been a team effort. Once I accrued so many holistic certifications, it became quite confusing for clients to know what to ask for.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any help at the time. So I was the receptionist, the technician, the doctor, the office manager, practice manager, inventory specialist, everything. And so I would answer the phone calls and they'd say, hey, what do you do? And so I would just laundry list, I do acupuncture and chiropractic and herbs and nutritional therapy and diet counseling and CBD and all this kind of stuff. And they'd be like, okay, so what do I do? What do I pick? And so I actually worked with a business coach for 6 to 9 months. And she really helped me narrow down my focus, find my message, find my tagline, find what I wanted to focus on, and then use that. So that was the first, that's what my website is right now, is that the result of all that work with the business coach. And then we just try to do a lot of pre-educating before people book, or, whether that's written when they book online. There's a lot of info on what's included in that first appointment and what they can expect after the appointment. If they talk to my technician, which I do have one now, thankfully, she has all the blurbs down pat. She knows exactly what to say to make it understandable for people. And so she'll talk them through all that same information so that they know if that's the direction they want to go or not, and there's no confusion. Because of that, we have a very low rate of clients who choose not to do anything with us after that first appointment. I think we've had one in the past 6 months that I can remember that came out and said, yeah, I don't want to do any of that. And that one was actually a referral from someone else. So they didn't really come to us organically. Yeah, so we've just worked really hard on our messaging, and I have social media managers who relay that message through social media, and I do emails and all that kind of stuff too. So we just try to keep it consistent.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so tell us a little bit about like how you talk to your clients, because I like the way this is going, this conversation, because I really want people to, I think this is going to be beneficial for people who are first time seeing a really talented thinker as a veterinarian and problem solver. If you've got problems, bring your pet to somebody who's thinking through the problems. You may not live near Colorado Springs and get to go to you, but for the folks that are young, thinking about getting the profession, I want them to take a cue from this. So, there's that expression, we teach people how to treat us. And I like that expression a lot in life. And, we also teach our clients how to treat us. So how do you set up the expectations and your requirements in order for people to be a client of yours?
Yeah, so we don't make it too hard for them. We just, again, it's all about describing the expectations before they book. And so when they talk to Brittany or they look on our website, they're going to read that we include chiropractic with each initial appointment, each initial patient, because we understand the importance of balancing the nervous system as the driver of any healing we're trying to achieve. And, we mentioned that we are going to talk about your diet and how we can elevate it. And pretty much everybody can elevate it in some way. There's very few clients that come in, I'm like, we don't need to touch that. And then we are going to muscle test them for supplements and herbs that we feel need to be used medicinally to help their pet heal and repair. And so, by kind of giving them that checklist, we're going to, diet's probably going to change. We're going to add supplements and herbs, and they're going to get a chiropractic adjustment. We're going to talk about nervous system health. It kind of lays the groundwork for them to know that they have to be committed and invested in the plan. And we price accordingly. So if they're not sure about that approach, then they're going to ask questions most likely before they book, because you're not going to pay a bunch of money for something they aren't sure about. So we just try to be really clear on that. And we've had some clients, our forms are very, a little bit intense too. We send them electronic forms to fill out before the appointment. And we've had a couple start to fill out the forms and then be like, I don't think this is for me. And that's great. That's good. I'm glad that they figured that out, because there's a huge, they have this whole disclaimer about what we do and how we do it and what things we don't do and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of pre-education.
Yeah. Let them self-select.
For sure.
But I hope that everybody understands that, the general pet parenting public, that the best holistic vets tell me every day privately, they'll never say this on camera, is that they are incredibly particular, and they will quit a client and tell a client, I'm no longer able to be your vet anymore if it's not a fit. And I think that's a really great way to be. There's, we should just be some people get really offended and put off by that, but the truth is it's just not a match. And why would you want to go to somebody if you don't want to do what they're suggesting? That's just not a good match for you. You should thank them for quitting you, because you can't quit them. I just find, I think that finding the right person who fits your sensibility and where you are, maybe stretches you a little bit and opens you up to new ideas is a good thing. It's a good fit.
For sure. Yeah, I've actually learned the most about homeopathy from my clients.
How so?
They study, they come in and they're like, yeah, I studied homeopathy with this person or this online thing. And And so they would just bring up, oh, I should, we could do that homeopathic for this condition in my pet, so I've learned a lot of homeopathy because I haven't done any certifications for that. But I've learned a lot from my clients, and that's great, kind of that partnering for their pet's health aspect.
Yeah. One of my favorite sayings in the world comes out of homeopathy medicine, which is remove the barriers to cure.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think, God, how appropriate is that for like all parts of life? Like, remove your impediments to success, remove your impediments to progress, remove your barriers to health, cure, the things that are, stopping you or your pet from getting well. So anyway, that comes out of homeopathy.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an area I'm really curious with. I just did a podcast with Dr. Ava Frick. We were talking about hair analysis, and I just did that on Gus and my dog Gus. And you do a lot of hair, skin, and tissue analysis. Tell us about why you do that and what it is that brings to the forefront for you, for your clients.
Sure. Everything I learned about that, I learned from Ava Frick, by the way. So her book's really great on that, and I've attended a few talks with her. But the hair tissue for me, so the easiest comparison is to blood work. Clients will bring in blood work for me to review, and we're looking at it. And, blood work can be helpful, but the thing you got to understand is the values on blood work won't change until the very end. So the body tries its hardest to keep blood levels balanced because it's the transport mechanism. So it's able to do that. So if it's low in calcium, it pulls it from the tissues. Yeah. If it's too much calcium, it drops it in the tissues. Same with heavy, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so blood, the body really has to be decompensating before you show changes on blood work. For instance, kidney enzymes won't change on blood work until the kidneys are 3/4% not function, or 3/4 the way not functioning. So 75%.
Yeah.
Liver, it's got to be, I think, 80 or 90%. And so it's just not a great tool for kind of that preventative, we're trying to achieve optimal health care. It's more that allopathic model where let's just react when you're about to die and see what we can do. And so hair tissue looks at the level of minerals in the tissue. So what is the body actually doing with those minerals once it goes through the transport mechanism and puts it to work? Are you getting enough calcium in your tissues? Are you getting enough iron? Are you getting too much iron? Do you got too much copper? And so you can look at the absolute values of the minerals and see how much is actually getting into the tissues where it does work. You can also look at the ratios of the minerals and assess thyroid health, adrenal health, immune status, inflammatory status, digestive status. And then heavy metals is a huge part of that as well. Do we have heavy metals that are disrupting different organs, particularly endocrine organs? So your thyroid, your adrenals, your pituitary, your pancreas. Pretty much every kidney patient I've ever done a hair tissue on comes back with super high aluminum. I've had seizure pets that often will come back with high mercury levels. Heavy metals are causing a lot of these diseases. And so if we know that, we can target them to get them out, and then we can see improvement in those conditions. So for me, it's just such a more sensitive tool to see what is actually the health of this patient on the interior level, at the tissue level.
So would we can boil this down even a little bit more? Do you feel like the tissue tests, hair, for example, they are more of an early indicator, or more current indicator, whereas blood may be trailing?
Yeah, I would. That's a good way to explain it. It's kind of like X-rays. If a dog has pneumonia, you can't go off the X-rays to see if it's clear because X-rays lag 2 weeks behind the actual disease.
Yeah,
I think blood is a little bit like that. It may not be that big of a distinction as X-rays, because you can check things like blood sugar, and so some things are obviously immediate. But overall, yes, hair tissue, I think, can detect things a lot earlier. It can just detect dysfunctions a lot earlier that could result in disease.
Yeah. I think the way first of all, we're not saying blood tests aren't good. Blood tests are amazing if you get the right ones. So I love blood tests, but I do them for myself and all that. But I think what's really interesting to just note is they're not perfect. They're not everything. And there are things you can do to complement.
For sure. Yeah. And same with hair tissue. No test is 100%. Even muscle testing, I'll tell my clients, muscle testing is not 100%.
No. You know what I liked about my test with Dr. Frick that we did on Gus? It really has me thinking. I've been thinking about this for like the last week. Just today, I was thinking about this. I didn't even know you were going to bring this up, but today I was thinking about. She made some comments to the timing of when he eats. She also made comments to his adrenals, which were spot on. He's a very explosive dog. Like he's always like. I mean, he's not just ready. He's like explosive to every moment in his life. Like it's crazy. And like I always say to him, thank goodness he's well trained, because if not, he'd be a monster. He would just be like bouncing everywhere like Tigger. But he is like, I always say Gus's biggest threat to Gus is Gus.
Yeah.
Like he will like run into a door because he's so excited. He will like, he plays aggressively with balls, like when he fetches. So he's ripped his dew cloth so many times, and I have to keep it really trim. He's jammed his toes so many times. I get chiropractic for him all the time. Anyway, this is very much Gus, and this all came out in this hair test. And Dr. Frick doesn't know a thing about him.
Yeah,
it's like she was reading his palm.
That's cool.
Well, I'm not saying. This is my first experience with this kind of a test, so I'm not saying anything except I found it very interesting. There were some things that definitely rang true to me, and I think they were good. I don't know what the word is filter or lens on which I use all the other tools at my disposal. And it just got me thinking another way that I was very valuable. Yeah. But so tell us, like, what is there anything that stands out, like a client's experience, like with the hair, skin, and tissue analysis that maybe you thought one thing and then that led you to another path?
The one that's coming to mind is we have this little French bulldog.
Okay.
Patient, and just horrible allergies like they all do, and itching all the time, and so we did the initial consult and chiropractic and diet change, and we our first nutritional therapy protocol, which is 12 weeks of whole food supplements and herbs. Did that, didn't really see any change. Did kind of tweak things a little bit, did another 12 weeks, not great change either. It's just nothing's really happening. And so they finally agreed to do a hair tissue. And I think we'd done some other tests in there too, but we did a hair tissue and it came back. And this dog is in like end stage adrenal fatigue failure. I mean, his adrenals are just shot. And I'm like, well, no wonder he can't absorb any of these nutrients. He's in complete fight or flight. His body is in shock. It's totally shut down. His gut's not digesting anything, and so knowing that, one, it kind of let me know, okay, we need to back up and focus on adrenal health for a little bit here. But it helps the owner too, to be like, oh, okay, so it's not that you suck as a doctor. It's that, my dog really has this big adrenal problem going on. And so that was a big one. And since we've switched gears a little bit, he's improving. His itching has resolved almost all the way. I think last time they said he was about 70% better on the itching. And so we're getting there. It's going to take time. Those hair tissue results do not change quickly. We will only recheck them every 3 to 5 months.
Yeah.
And so it is going to be a slow process, but that was super helpful for both me and the client.
Yeah, that's great. No, hear us now, folks. Like, itching is not always an omega-3 deficiency. It is not always a shampoo issue. It can be very complicated. I think itching is like probably one of the more complicated conditions that exist, don't you?
Definitely. And I tell clients that when they come in with allergies or itching, I'm like, this is going to take time.
Yeah.
You're going to get frustrated because you think it's not changing fast enough.
Right.
There are multiple layers to this. Like, this is not a one quick fix. There are lots of other conditions that in school I thought were super complex, like diabetes, pancreatitis, hypothyroidism. Those are like holistically, those are like no problem. Like, we'll get it straightened out in 6 months, but itching that's a big one because it's such an external sign of so much internal dysfunction.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be, adrenals. I mean, who would ever look under that,
right,
under that rug for that issue? But it's just could be chronic inflammation of just a generic form. It could be, of course, diet. So let's talk about diet, because you've definitely gone down the raw road, and for yourself and your dogs, and then your clients. So how do you think about diet, like a really great diet?
Yeah. So the way I introduce it to my clients is we just want to find what's biologically appropriate. So what is the diet that your pet was designed to eat, that their physiology was designed to eat? And the closer we align with that, the less stress we're causing them every time they eat that food.
Yeah.
And so the more...
Can we pause right there? I love that you said that. Why? Tell us about that stress. We'll go down that road. I love that.
Sure. So let's see. How's a good way to do that?
I love it. It's just resonated with me so clearly.
So if your body, let's just get real simple here. Say that you're a herbivore, and so your teeth are designed to chew up grass. Your stomach pH is the right pH for foliage and plants. Your digestive tract is long enough to break down the cell walls and extract all the nutrients out of that. You have the fermentation tank, the rumen or the, whatever, the cecum to break that stuff down and kind of redigest it again. You have pathways in your body that when you're deficient in something that maybe you would get from eating meat, but they're able to convert it from plant materials. So you have specific biomechanical processes to make sure you get everything you need. So if you're a herbivore and you try to eat a piece of meat, let's just start at the top and work our way down. What are the issues here? So you're trying to eat meat, you don't have canines, so you can't even masticate it properly. So now you're kind of frustrated that you can't even chew up this food appropriately. And then you get kind of anxious that maybe you're not going to get enough food down because you can't chew it. Then it hits your stomach. Your stomach pH isn't acidic enough to break down proteins. It's more basic to digest plant material. So now your stomach starts to react in a negative way. It either wants to get it out one way or the other. So it's either going to make you vomit it back up, or it's going to try to push it through, but maybe it's not quite digested enough. So now it starts to ferment in your stomach, and now it's starting to mess up your hydrochloric acid production. Maybe you start to have heartburn because now you have these fermentation bubbles bubbling acid up your esophagus. And that's just like this much of your body, right? So just all the way down. That's stressful. Your body is having to try to adapt and do these workarounds for things that it was never designed to do. And that's using up metabolism, that's using up energy, that's using up resources. So now your body can't fight disease like it should. It can't prevent parasitic infection like it could. It should. It can't take care of cancer mutated cells like it should.
Yeah. And it's, I love that you said the biomechanical part, because we all know that guts can adapt, microbiomes can adapt, but there's only so much it can do with microbes in digestion. But if you're that animal that you're describing, your pancreas might not be adapted over literally thousands or millions of years. That's how long it takes to actually produce the right kind of enzymes for a different food that it wasn't meant to eat. I mean, it's very interesting, this biologically appropriate topic. I think you did. I've never actually had anybody break it down this way, including Dr. Billinghurst. He's going to love this part of the talk, because I think for the layman, for the pet parent that doesn't understand a lot about, doesn't want to, they just want to feed the right food. Just elucidating that is so key, because you just realize like how horrible it is to feed your dog the wrong thing. And I think where you're probably going to go next is with dogs, carbohydrates are that wrong thing. Is that okay? I took a wild guess after talking to thousands of holistic veterinarians. So anyway, hundreds actually, not thousands, but you get my point. So tell us about the diet for dogs and cats. What do you like?
Yeah. So, one of my goals with clients is, once they do the work to find me and come in to see me, we're going to find what's doable for them, for their time convenience, and budget constraints. And so I don't have one diet that I tell everybody, you must do X, Y, Z. And so what I did is actually worked with, Chelsea Kent. She owns Parsley Pet. She owns a holistic pet store in Denver, but she does a lot of work on the legislative side for pet food. She's trying to promote more transparency in the pet food companies on the labeling and their sourcing of their ingredients, which is great. But she actually helped me put together a PDF list of canine diets and then one for feline as well. And so based off of her research, because she researches pet food companies all the time. So she's looking at their quality, their sourcing. She does third-party lab testing. So she'll get a sample of their food and send it off, make sure it's complete and balanced and doesn't have any nasty things in it. So she helped me a lot kind of refine my list for both cats and dogs, so that we have a really nice workable list for people.
Yeah.
And so, I tell them, honestly, raw is probably the cheapest on the list, believe it or not. Freeze dried costs a lot to run that kind of processing, that kind of machinery. And the fresh cooked foods are more kind of concierge. They're kind of owned by celebrities and they drop ship to your door. So those end up not being that, price effective either. So really the raw foods, pound to pound or feeding to feeding tend to be the most affordable, believe it or not. And so I'll give them that list and then if, help them if they need some more hand holding to kind of narrow it down.
Yeah. Well, local is always cheaper, better, less transportation, all that stuff. And it's local, which is amazing. You're feeding, talk about appropriate, you're feeding what's local to the environment.
Right.
The microbiome's adjusting all the time to our environment, including our dogs. And so you mentioned complete imbalance. So what is your belief on people doing raw correctly? Do you feel like people mostly, there's two schools of thoughts. There's this complete imbalance that's like AFCO, compliant. Dr. Billinghurst is very much against that. Mm-hmm. But I realize that people have challenges like, making sure that they do enough of the right things in raw feeding. How do you think about that?
I think that homemade diets can definitely be done correctly. Whenever I craft a homemade recipe, I don't balance it with any synthetic supplements. So it's all using whole food. And that's one of my goals. And that's what I tell clients. Yeah. I think it is also very easy to do it incorrectly in the United States. Just the way that our animals are raised and treated. It is very easy to get meat that is too fatty, too chemical rich, too, full of toxin, toxin rich, GMOs, glyphosate. It's just way too easy. You have to work really hard to find quality meat. And so for the client who's trying to do homemade to save money, they're going to buy the cheapest cuts, the 85-15 or the 80-20, usually 80-20. So then they're going to have these really fatty cuts of grain-raised beef that are full of toxins. And now they're doing 20% fat, which means that their pets are going to be nutrient deficient, but overcompensated with calories. So it just has to come with some education. You know, I think the 80-10-10 thing, I'm not a big fan of just throwing that out there and saying 80-10-10, good luck. You know, there needs to be some more guidance there, because you can screw it up doing 80-10-10 if you don't know what kind of meat you should be getting and the quality it should be. So yeah, I understand. Like, I totally get where Dr. Billinghurst was, you know, about the AFCO. Those are totally made up numbers. Like, I totally get that. Yeah. But I do think that it needs to be dealt with carefully as well, and with some education.
Yeah. So I agree with you on the industrial farming and ranching and all of that. I mean, that's really where the problem is. I give, so my dog, he gets all grass fed, and you have to go beyond natural. Natural doesn't mean anything. You have to be very careful. You can go to your rancher. You can use co-ops to source directly from ranchers that are great. And the co-ops, they don't have as pretty packaging as the grocery stores, but who cares? It's incredibly high quality meat. But he does get a lot of 80-20 stuff, and I buy extra fat for him. And I'll tell you, I'll show you my dog one day in person. You can't keep weight on this guy. I mean, It's crazy. And he's built like a coyote as a Labrador. He's a black lab, 7 years old. Yeah. So that's what my vet says. He says they should be built like coyotes. And he actually made me put weight on him. He made me feed him carbs, sweet potatoes and things for a period of time to give him a little weight in case, he was to ever get ill one day.
Yeah.
He needs a little bit of extra weight to cash in on that gift,
Yeah.
So, but no, I think what you're getting to is, it's the same thing like people's diets. People don't want to think about their diets. They want to, fast, easy, convenient, cheap. And if you start pointing them in the direction of creating their own dog's food, they're probably going to do the same thing. So you have to give them some direction and some guidance. But I love how you're doing it with all whole foods and as little supplements as possible. I used to be one of those guys, like my first dog, Buddy, he lived to 16, black lab, English black lab. And I gave him, I wanted him to live forever when he was starting as a puppy. So I was, I'm very, very enthusiastic and excited about high quality supplements. I'm very pro supplement, but minimalist. What is appropriate at the right time, in the right amount. But I was giving him all kinds of, I was I'm going to start anti-aging him at the age of friggin' 10 weeks old. That was the wrong way to do it. I was coming from a good place, but really lack of education. Gus has never really been on supplements for the most part, temporarily here and there. Because he threw his neck out in a fetch, like a jump. I put him on some CBD, super clean CBD, which I think of more as food than anything really. And occasionally he's on curcumin and some natural food stuff, but I'm going to start putting him on magnesium.
Okay.
Because of this hair analysis with Dr. Ava Frick. I'm he's 7. And you know what? I need to naturally chill him out because of this whole adrenal thing. So I'm going to look at some really, my goal right now is finding the highest quality blend of different magnesiums for him. I might have it made or something for him, but anyway, I'm digressing, but I was just going to say, I really like your attitude. Very, have a hands-off approach as much as you can, and leave the supplements for the older age because you're going to need them. That's my attitude.
Yeah. Would you like a recommendation for the magnesium?
Heck yeah.
So Standard Process has a plant-based magnesium that has 26 different forms in it.
Wow.
And it is the blood-brain barrier. So magnesium, when it's able to do that, works like Xanax.
Wow.
throwing that out there.
Okay, thank you. No, that's great. And I like a lot of standard process stuff for humans and pets.
Yeah, that's all I use. So, yep.
Okay, good. No, I'm excited. I bet you my vet carries that one. I just have never asked him since like the last week. Yeah. All right, so I'm very excited about that. All right, well, I think what we need to end on here is let's talk more about your practice and what you do, so that if anybody's in the Colorado Springs area or near, even like South Denver, where can they find you? Tell us a little bit about, what you want people to know who are in those areas.
Sure. Yeah. So our website is kingsfoilvet.com, and you can find all our phone number on there, email. You can also book online, so you can take a look at the new patient services we offer to get you guys established. That first appointment for the initial holistic is an hour long. I review all the medical records beforehand, and then we just dive into a lot of what we mentioned today. So we talk about diet. We do a full physical exam, but also a spinal exam for any spinal subluxations and fix those. And then we go into our muscle response analysis, which figures out what your dog's unique physiology is lacking, that we can supply with whole food supplements and herbs above and beyond a high quality diet. So we're not trying to out supplement a poor diet. We're just trying to use these supplements medicinally to jumpstart their healing. And then we talk about what comes after that, as far as what I recommend with chiropractic care and then rechecking supplements. We do offer a lot of unconventional diagnostics. So not just the hair tissue, but we have some blood panels that are really helpful. Like there's a cancer screening profile, an osteoarthritis screening panel. There's a GI panel that can help us distinguish what kind of GI disease might be going on. There's some really nice allergy atopy things we can do diagnostically. So I don't push diagnostics. I'm confident enough in my muscle testing that I don't think we need them most of the time, but we can always reach for those if we get stuck. So that's how you find us. And then I do also offer virtual consultations as well. So if you're not in the area, you can book an online consultation, and those depend largely on the hair tissue. So because I can't muscle test, we have you mail us some of their hair. And then we use that to craft their nutritional therapy protocol, along with a 60-minute Zoom call, just chatting with you about what you're seeing with your pet.
I find, I have to say this every time I hear about Zoom or telehealth consultations. I just want to say this for people. Please get yourself a great holistic vet to advise you, because don't think about it in terms of like, I'm going to get somebody to diagnose or give me the magic answer. What you need is a partner who helps you think the way you need to think around a problem. So interrogating you, in other words, like asking you very specific questions, could be the key that unlocks everything for your pet's health, wellness, disease, quote, cure, whatever that means, or complete reduction of any symptoms. Mm-hmm. It's that a lot of people don't know how to ask the right questions, don't know what they don't know how to think around problems when it comes to health. It's very few people do. And so I just think that what you're paying for most of the time in a vet consultation is the right questions. And you get more and more fine-tuned down to this one little thing, and then you have some direction.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's the most amazing thing. The other thing that's come out in what I love that you said, you spend an hour with people, and you like these when you go to a vet clinic and they spend 6 to 7 minutes with you, and then a vet tech comes in and spends another 7 minutes with you, you get 15 minutes of a human being's time. I'm just not sure you're going to get great quality pet care. Health, wellness care. Could it happen? Of course. But you need somebody who's sitting with you, who is completely focused, hands-on, and helping you deal with your particular dog or cat. And that's what a natural vet holistic functional veterinarian, that's what they do. They sit with you for a good amount of time, and you're paying them for it's the equivalent of 5, 6, 7 vet visits, if that's the way you want to think about it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that hard to give great care, but we just can't do it the other way, than the way that's become like this conveyor belt of like seeing 30, 40 patients a day.
Yeah.
If you do that, then you got to carry a vial of antibiotics and steroids in your pocket to address these things. Just make it go away. Shoot, see you next time.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. That hour gives us just time to think too. I am not quick on my feet. I will admit it, And so having that scheduled time with the owner, we sit together and we just chat and we just kind of work through it mentally and verbally until we discover a solution or something else we need to think about or a different perspective on the problem. So it's been actually amazing how often that's happened, where we just kind of sit there and we just kind of look at the pet together and think and kind of try out some ideas on each other. And that's the true partnership. And it's great. I love it.
Well, you say that you don't think, I appreciate what you're saying. And I think that's honest and fair, that nobody's like, you're seeing, how many over 5 to 10 different patients a day. So you're changing, direction on every single patient. Everyone's custom and unique, but also the pet parents things aren't in the forefront of their mind. Their bills and their kids and their job and all the things are in the back of their head. They come to an appointment. So just sitting there for like 10 minutes immediately gets them super focused on their pet. Because I'm sure, how many times do you ask somebody, have they ever vomited recently? And they said, oh, no way. And then like 5 minutes later, like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Last week they vomited. And right. It's like, it just takes time. By the way, this is me to a T. I immediately have this knee-jerk reaction. Oh, no, I know. Right. I'm like, wait a second. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoops. Yeah. So these are so valuable. Like, my vet, we have so much, all my really genius, both human, my doctors and my dog's doctors. I find it's really important for me to have a really good relationship with them. And we have just genuinely good connection. And so a lot of times we'll just be talking about news events while his hands are on my dog. He's feeling around. He's just looking and we're just talking about current things. And we're laughing or whatever. Yeah. And it's in that open, good spirit that the most amazing magic happens. And, So, well, anyway, this has just been a really great and really easy conversation, Dr. Tiffany. I appreciate your spending some time with us today. And I'm going to have to go down south and have some coffee.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. It was really fun. Happy to see you next time.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for joining us and listening. And if you're listening on our podcast, join us. You can go to Dr. Tiffany's website, which is King's Foil Vet, which is based on what show?
It's a literary reference from The Lord of the Rings.
There you go. I'm sure all the Lord of the Rings people
are like, oh, I know.
Yeah. So
Nerd night. Yeah.
Right. Kings is KINGSFOILVET.com for your all the folks that are listening to this. And then Dr. Tiffany's last name is Diab. So you can Google that there. And take a look at her practice. And thanks again, Dr. Tiffany. We look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye, everybody.